So before I start off, just a quick introduction. My name is Jason Hill. I'm from VMware, strangely enough. Tonight, we've got 15 minutes. I'm actually co-presenting with a gentleman here, Saurabh Misra from New York Stock Exchange Technologies. So we'll do a bit of a quick changeover at the 5-minute mark, if I don't overrun. And effectively what we're here tonight to talk about is really achieving business agility through cloud technologies, or a different way of using IT. And what we're going to do is, Saurabh's going to talk through some customer use case studies. So, I think we've already covered this evening, but effectively, as you all know, the world is changing, the macroeconomic climate is changing rapidly, and also technology is evolving rapidly. And what this is leading to is a situation where effectively we're seeing the mandate of IT changing. So IT has typically been very focused in the last few years on cost, but what we're seeing is that IT now needs to be really focused on driving business value and helping the business to drive growth, given that we're going through turbulent times and things have changed a lot. And it's quite interesting if you look at the way IT and business dynamics have changed over the last few years. You see startups like Facebook who've gone to 10 million users in 2 years. If you know how long it took the telephone to actually reach 10 million households, it was 38 years. So you're seeing a huge change, startups popping up out of nowhere, just companies popping out the woodwork. And we did some research with Gartner, and this is the quote really from Lee McMullen, who's one of the CXO consultants at Gartner. And we're seeing that really what IT needs to focus on is being able to help the CEO drive business growth by adding customers, retaining, driving shareholder value, and helping the business to actually launch new services. So IT is continually under pressure to move at the speed of business now. I mean, again, having worked in IT for 20 plus years, and certainly recently, 2 years ago at a financial services firm, the constant pressure you're getting from the business is you're not moving quickly enough. So, one of the things we're seeing at VMware is CEOs absolutely are now looking in this changing marketplace, changing macroeconomic climate and technology climate, is how do they drive new opportunities more quickly? How do they drive and launch new products much more quickly? How do they retain customers, especially in the financial services industry, where you're seeing new companies pop up overnight? How do you stop the little boys eating your lunch, effectively? And how do they drive and open new markets in Asia or China or wherever? And what we're seeing is the CIOs have to respond to that. They've now got to start driving and helping the business deliver value by better use of IT. But they've also got to obviously maintain and run an efficient IT shop, because let's face it, most, if not all, of the financial services firms are under intense cost pressure and public scrutiny. One of the ways that we're seeing companies drive innovation and uniqueness, which I think is a key thing, or rather, let me rephrase that. One of the things we see is that companies need to drive uniqueness and differentiation, certainly in the business, in the products they launch, by using IT better, to differentiate themselves from their competitors and actually make themselves, more competitive in the marketplace. And one of the reasons we're here presenting with NYSE is that's exactly what they've done. They have, and I'm not going to steal your thunder here, but they've launched a financial services community cloud, which is completely different. This is something launched by IT that is revenue generating. So again, this is a use of IT to help drive business value and drive revenue, which is very different. There's nothing else out there currently, to my knowledge, in the marketplace. So that's uniqueness. But the interesting thing about uniqueness is if you think about what CIOs have been doing over the last 10 years, it's actually the reverse of that. They've been locking down, standardizing, commoditizing their environment. And actually that's the one thing that you don't want to do in the business front office. Uniqueness and differentiation actually drives business value. So how do you do this? Well, obviously there's lots of different ways, but there is an area of white space to look for. Some of the things that businesses are doing are they're using mobility technologies and better use of that. But the one thing that I wanted to talk about was, and we're seeing, is them starting to use more agile infrastructure, whether that be cloud or they're actually just building out more agility into their infrastructure to actually help the business drive products and services out there more quickly. And again, you know, in my past life, I worked at Deutsche Bank. I ran and built their global cloud program. And the key thing that, you know, we were getting the business pressure us on was, yeah, cost is always a pressure, let's face it, but it was actually time to market. It was responding to requests from the business which were inhibiting them deliver business value. And so, you know, what we're seeing is driving IT agility actually is a key enabler to driving business agility. And you know, that's one of the things that actually makes IT look like a value-add service rather than just a cost of doing business or a necessary evil. And I think it's pretty important to actually move from being seen as a cost center and a cost to actually being seen as a value creation or a value-add area. So clearly, financial services are under a lot of pressures, but you know, I think that the two areas that we focused on from a VMware perspective and what we're seeing out there is clearly cost optimization is key, but it's not really, you know, as you move towards cloud, cost is a key thing, but it's really, again, about how you drive value for the business, agility for the business, and how you actually work with the business to understand how you drive that. And I think there's been discussions this evening around, you know, various software or things that you can, you know, consume. But actually, you know, the two challenges that I see from a cloud perspective and how you use cloud to drive value for the business, the two biggest challenges are articulating the value in terms that the business can understand and they can resonate with. And secondly, you know, and again, I put my hands up, I come from a software company, but you can buy all the software in the world, but ultimately, the key thing that helps you translate that IT into business value is people and process and more of the operating model change. Okay? And that's one of the things that I see a lot of customers struggling with. So what I want to do, hopefully I haven't taken more than 5 minutes, I want to hand over to Saurabh now to really go through an overview of what they're doing at NYSE and go through a couple of customer use cases. And I'll be back later.
Thanks, Jason. I guess one of the problems with speaking last is that I've had to stay away from the wine the longest. And I couldn't resist myself when Julian started describing the sparkling wine, so I've had a few sips. Good evening, everyone. I'm Saurabh Misra, and I'm a solutions consultant at NYSE Technologies. I started at NYSE last year after spending 15 years working for investment banks. So hopefully some of the information that I'm going to present tonight will be a little more relevant than if it was just coming from a vendor. Right, so I think it is said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I've got one that I picked up from the Met Office's website last night. If you can't see it clearly, one is a weather map of the UK, and the other one is the 10-day forecast for London. And it just goes to say that whatever you do and wherever you go, you cannot escape the clouds. They're here to stay, so we better adapt to that. Though frankly, I would love for the clouds to dissipate and some sunshine to come in, but I guess that's wishful thinking. So I'll move on to what I'm here to really talk about. So the presentations before me have outlined challenges, opportunities, etc. for clouds. And NYSE Technologies put together its cloud offering, the Capital Markets Community Platform, 2 years ago to essentially address those challenges around security, around making services readily available. Sort of the reason for doing so was quite simple. We already had a community in the form of the exchanges that we hosted in our liquidity centers in Mahwah, which is in the US, Basildon, just outside of London, Toronto, and Asia, where we hosted our markets and had a global network, which we call Safety, to bring members to these markets. And in the same location, we had a sizable buy-side, sell-side community in the form of the fixed marketplace. We extended this community and added elements of market data. So raw market data for non-NYSE Euronext markets, consolidated low latency market data feeds, what we call super feed, and analytics, NYSE TAC, which is trade and quotes, and BBO, best bid and offer information. So we made all these data elements available to the community platform. And then using technologies provided by VM, HP, and EMC, we further extended this platform and created storage and compute farms. And these were all made available to participants and firms that were co-located or hosted in our liquidity centers. We then took all these products and services and encapsulated them within a fully managed, SLA-driven service management framework, which was supported by our global service desk. And that's what the community platform is, or the capital markets community platform, to get the branding right. And the story doesn't end there. We're saying that the services and products that we've placed in the platform are constantly evolving. And that's driven by clients and industries. I'm going to move on to a couple of use cases that will hopefully make it more relevant in terms of the generic sort of use cases that we're seeing where the capital markets community platform applies. So for firms across capital markets, like investment banks, agency brokers, interbroker dealers, all the way to trading solutions providers and technically demanding high-frequency trading and specialist buy-side firms, we've seen some common themes emerge. Not surprisingly, for the larger firms, reducing or managing more effectively their massive internal IT costs is a big priority. And they're trying to do that by sharing infrastructure, sharing services, technical assets, and embracing open source initiatives. These firms are also looking to reduce the overhead in collecting, processing, and storing large amounts of data. This could be market data, could be transactional data, could be reference data. They need that data to satisfy compliance and regulatory requirements. Then obviously we have firms that are still looking to deploy custom or bespoke applications onto large server farms. And they don't want to invest the kind of money that's required to create these large server farms. So that's again a use case of sharing infrastructure. And while all the sharing is great, there is one thing, and having worked in the banks, I know this for a fact, you can share a lot of the services, you can share people who are developing systems for you, but you ultimately want to retain the agility and the flexibility of rapidly provisioning compute and storage capabilities so that you can bring new strategies and new products to markets quicker. And finally, across the entire industry, we see firms asking for scalability and flexibility in the cloud services that we're putting together. So these are some of the generic use cases. I mean, I've focused on trading firms here, but I think it's fair to say that the relevance of cloud services or shared services to any financial services firm cannot be overstated. I'll move on to a couple of client case studies that I've pulled together that sort of reflect the type of challenges we see firms tackling using the cloud offering. So in the first case study, we had a Chicago-based firm that was looking to extend its business into the Japanese market, but it did not have any presence in that country. So we put together a solution for this company. We extended the reach of its business from the US to Japan over the global safety network and into our Tokyo liquidity center where we host the community platform, and we created storage and compute facilities in the Tokyo Liquidity Center on the capital markets community platform. And into this execution platform, we delivered real-time market data using our Superfeed service, and we established order routing capabilities for that business using the marketplace service. This entire solution, end-to-end, was conceived and delivered in 3 months. It was live on time and delivered within budget. And it's a solution that's completely owned and provisioned by NYSE Technologies. And this just shows that addressing even fairly complex business requirements like taking your business to a new country can be turned around quite rapidly as you start seeing services and products mature within the cloud.
Sorry, just to be clear, that's private cloud or a public cloud?
It's a private cloud. I mean, it's private in the sense it's secure. So someone asked the question about cloud security. It is a cloud that we've built around, obviously, the technical assets that we already have, the data centers, the network, the market data services, etc. So it is private in the sense that it's not open to the general public, but it's public in the sense that it's open to the financial services community.
So it is a shared platform?
It is a shared platform, yes.
Within?
Within?
Shared within what's previous, I guess?
Shared within the capital markets, yeah.
So beyond your own firm?
Absolutely. I mean, for the services that we have on the cloud, I mean, if you want to establish trading relationships or trading business in a certain part of the world where we have a presence, where we have the safety network in place, then effectively you could take sort of physical or virtual compute on demand capabilities, storage capabilities, compute capabilities from us, and host your application and source market data and trading access using the services that we have already built in these locations.
Do you own the assets, or does someone else own the assets?
Well, we own the assets on the ground, the metal on the, the servers, the connectivity, the network infrastructure. But it depends. I mean, we can talk about it later after over a glass of wine. But yes, it is an NYSE-owned cloud. It is private in the sense that it's limited to the participants that can come onto it. But then again, it's a shared service. It's a shared platform. And just wrapping up this case study, obviously the solution what we put together was scalable and flexible because we're trying to support a new business being established in a new country. It was definitely less expensive than the in-house solutions that were being considered by the firm. And this entire solution is governed by SLAs, or service level agreements. Moving on to the next case study. Here we have, again, a US-based market making desk looking to take their entire market and place it within the cloud. Again, not a public cloud, a secure cloud. And that's when they started looking at the NYSE cloud offering or the capital markets community platform. The overriding sort of the drivers for that was to reduce the total cost of ownership of the hardware assets, the data center space, and gain access to new technologies to reduce the time to market for bringing new products to the market. And again, the solution that we put together here was a fully managed compute and storage facility on the community markets platform with hardware and software assets for the client spread across multiple client and NYSE Euronext locations. Obviously, the business model dictates that some of the trading models and trading access needs to be placed closer to the liquidity pools. The entire solution is secure and resilient, and the performance as well as the availability of the infrastructure that is being put in place is governed by strict SLAs. And this solution also includes a full range of virtualized services. We have calculation farms, DNS, email services, authentication services, amongst others, which have been built over HP, EMC, and Juniper Kit and managed via VM's vSphere 5 product. And finally, again, this entire solution has to be scalable and flexible so as to be able to adjust and grow as new business requirements emerge. So that essentially were two client case studies that I took out of several that we have that we've delivered over the last 2 years at NYSE Technologies. And we're finding new and unique requirements emerging from within capital markets. People are talking about disaster recovery as a service, which is a unique concept. I mean, firms spend a lot of money in maintaining DR and BCP capabilities, which essentially tend to lie idle, which can be then put into a location where, I mean, if you invoke DR, hopefully someone else is not invoking DR at the same time. I mean, there could be exceptions to that. And then we have things like fixed onboarding as a service, which is slightly more close to sort of the trading and transaction sort of based community. We have take data capture and delivery as a service. Firms spending a lot of money in capturing a lot of tech data and storing it, and they want to be able to share that service with other firms who are trying to do the same thing. And that's about it. I suppose the list is growing rapidly. I think I'll hand over to Jason for the question.
Oh,
that we're trying to put together.
Thank you. So I'd just like to thank Saurabh for coming up and effectively giving my presentation for me. Very kind. I think what Saurabh's shown is that if we go back to the original point of how do you drive and create business value through use of more agile cloud technology, I think Saurabh's demonstrated that there definitely is a case there. But clearly, when we talk about cloud, I think, the challenges that we see in the financial services industry that keep coming up on a regular basis are what about security, what about regulation, and I think some of those have come out this evening. So really what I wanted to do was obviously thank you for your attention. Thanks Saurabh for participating and presenting with me, but to leave you with a question that what do you think and what are you facing as barriers to cloud adoption within financial services? On that, I'd like to thank you for your attention, get back to your wine, and have a good evening.